So what's going on for you? Got the night sweats, hot flashes, tossing and turning at night, belly weight from nowhere. How about that anxiety? You might feel as though your body is in full-blown crisis mode. Digestive issues crop up, joints go out of whack. Well, life just feels, really hard now. This is the biggest hormonal upheaval since puberty, my friend. And there is so much misinformation and manipulation out there. We go to our doctor thinking that's where we'll get the real truth and leave feeling more confused than ever. Today, my guest is a nurse practitioner who got fed up with seeing old, sick, and frail women in their hospital and doctors' clinics. She knew that if she could get to us earlier, give us supportive hormones to help bring balance back to our systems, that our lives would be transformed. In this episode, we're going to highlight three essential hormones, what their role is in your body, and how to boost them in perimenopause and menopause. Welcome to the Midlife Reset podcast. This is episode 61, and my name is Cheryl Gordon. As a yoga therapist, I've helped thousands of women create calmer, stronger, and more meaningful lives through the tools of yoga and mindfulness. And please welcome Jenny Coffey from Font Health Clinic in the beautiful Niagara region. Hi, Jenny. I'm so glad that you could come in today. I'm really excited for this conversation, because I think the work you do, the clinic that you run, fill such an important place in our healthcare system. So let's talk about what that spot is. So many times I work with women who are in perimenopause or menopause and they have symptoms. They go to their doctor, and the doctor just basically doesn't have a lot of education in this area. And they offer things like antidepressants or sleeping pills, maybe offer an opportunity to go to a nutritionist if that's part of the family practice. But a woman doesn't get seen as a whole person in any of those steps. So that's where you come in, right, Jenny? That's where your clinic comes in. Can you
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about the work that you do?
I'll start by saying how I got here because I
Okay.
used to be on the other side of this. So I did my undergraduate at McMaster to become a registered nurse, and I've always loved school, so I knew I'd go back eventually. I worked all over the place, and then I went back to Western for a graduate degree to become a nurse practitioner. So not everybody understands the scope of practice of a nurse practitioner, so we're able to diagnose and prescribe and order your labs and things like that. So we function very similar to a family doctor. So I went back to NP school with the hopes that I'd be able to help people much sooner before I would see them at the hospital as an RN with all these things that were wrong with them, the urinary tract infections and the hip fractures and the frailty and the diabetes and the high cholesterol, all that stuff. And unfortunately, that's not really how it is. That what we were more so taught was how to manage the diseases and then, yeah, make like a little bit of health teaching, but not a whole lot of time to really spend with somebody and explain why I should do this, or let's try this before medications. So anyway, so long story short, I became an MP. Primary care was a tornado. Like you have to see so many people in a day. You have
Tornado, I love that. That really
yeah,
does
like it's
describe your
like
day,
go, go,
doesn't it?
go, go, go. And like
Yeah.
you get piles and piles of prescription refills and you have all these forms to fill out for people and like you don't really get a lot of time. And if you spend more than your, 15, 20 minutes, you're behind for everybody else the rest of the
Yeah.
day. And then you're staying late to catch up on charts. So not really ideal. But I always like to say I've never had a nursing job I didn't love because I really do love being a nurse because I love talking to people and getting to know people. So fast forward, I started a practice with my sister, who's also a nurse, Camilla, for funsies. She was on her parental leave, and I was a brand new nurse practitioner, and I was like, hey, let's get into this, medical aesthetics. So we did that, and that was going well. But then we started hearing a lot of the same concerns about, oh, sure, I'll take Botox, but like, oh, these night sweats, these hot flashes. And for a while, I didn't know what to do with it. I had no training in it, like very little. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. But it happened enough that I was like, okay, like at some point, I have to stop ignoring this and like just pay attention.
So, Jenny, I'm just going to break in for a second. So, you had your undergraduate degree in nursing, a graduate degree in nursing, and had how many years field experience, and you didn't know what to give somebody for night sweats?
Great point. Yes. 4 years in university, many
Yeah,
years in the hospital treating really sick people, right? So you don't really
yeah.
get help like it was just a different way of looking at a person. And then even in my graduate degree, I don't remember a single class on like menopause, hormones, or even like how to keep people healthy. Like
Yeah.
I could help you. I could learn all the diabetes meds, hypertension, high cholesterol, all that stuff, but not enough to be like, okay, but how do I prevent that from happening? None.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but it's frustrating because people want to feel better and they don't have.
Yeah, and this is what us women have to understand that are listening to the podcast. The doctors that we're going to, which is the right thing to go do, to go to see your doctor when you're not feeling well, but they just don't have the time and they don't have the tools to help us in the way we need. That's where you come
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, and I would say that when people come to us, they're, upset that their family physician didn't help, or they'll say, oh, he's a male doctor. And what I would say to that is, the system isn't just failing women, it's also failing healthcare providers. Like it's not like they choose not to
Wow.
help you, it's that they don't have the time, the bandwidth, the resources, the incentive, the support, the like just to help you, like truly help you. And I'm sure if they could, they would, because we all get into healthcare to help people. You think they want to see 50 patients in a day to keep the bills paid and the lights on? But so I think it's failed not just the patient, but also healthcare practitioners. And the same can be said for nurses in the hospital. And, everyone's overworked and understaffed. Um, so anyway, so then I fall into this rabbit hole of hormones, and I started very like, low and slow with kind of what I could understand from my training and like a little bit like a course here and there. But it wasn't until last year when I did some advanced training under a physician named Dr. Neil Rouzier. It was really intense, but it was incredible. And I learned about the nuances of hormones, what bioidentical means versus synthetic, how the breast cancer risk is actually not a risk with the right hormones. It's actually, hormones actually protect you, and all this stuff that every time I would attend a lecture, my head just would like pop off. And I'd be like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean we can prevent what? Like, why isn't everybody doing this? And it just, like, it rocked me. And every subsequent weekend, I just came back more, I guess, on fire to like, things have to change. Like I was already doing hormones, but then I did this training. I was like, oh my gosh, like there's like these other levels. Um, and yeah, it's just been a thrill.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And I just it's not that everybody has to go on hormones. That's not what we're talking about. But I think what we're trying to say, Jenny, is that there are options and that
Mhm.
women are encouraged and supported. And I even as a yoga therapist who wants everybody to be healthy and do everything natural, I want people to understand that sometimes you need a little extra boost. I certainly needed a little extra boost to get through these changes. So Jenny, tell me about some of the things that you have seen in your clinic, some of the stories in your clinic where women have come who probably look exhausted because they're not sleeping, who are having those night flashes or night sweats and hot flashes. That was me. Who are gaining weight despite eating as healthy as they possibly can and exercising to the point of injuring themselves. You know, tell me some of those stories.
So women come to us because they've tried everything else and they're at their wits' end. And a lot of the times they think they're choosing between the breast cancer risk and hormones. And they're so desperate, they're like, I don't even care anymore. Like I need my hormones or I need to do something. And then we usually have a great conversation about how they're not actually picking. It's safe to do so. And there's things that, work outside of your own control. So I'm all for lifting weights, eating well, whole foods, getting good sleep, having, something to kind of de-stress. And hormones played a role your entire life, and now they're gone. So when you add them back in, all those things just go so much smoother. And I think what most women don't realize is that almost all of them are a candidate for hormones, even in the context of breast cancer history, ovarian. Oh, my mom had XYZ, I can't have hormones. That's not usually the case. And so it becomes a very individualized conversation because you have to take what people think they understand about hormones and kind of like tease it out and make sense of it with them alongside their blood work and their symptoms and explain all the benefits. Um, so yeah, more often than not, everyone ends up on all the hormones. The other one that gets missed is thyroid function. So menopause, perimenopause, we're talking about the ovary function and the hormones not being produced anymore, which affects all body systems. And we also see changes in the thyroid gland and in its function, and that also affects all body systems. So they tend to go together, and thyroid will almost always get missed by your family doctor because they're looking for disease, and your thyroid is not disease, it's just less efficient. And that too can help so much with metabolism, with energy, with joint pain, with hair, with body fat. And women don't know that. I didn't know that. So it's basically this like really incredible toolbox. And the way that I think of it is like, imagine if you're going to go run a marathon, because I always say, healthcare is never ending, but you had these like really incredible pair of running shoes. That is what hormones are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do a lot of podcasts on the importance of balancing our hormones. And I really can't help a woman if she comes to me for like we want to deal with the sleep and the nervous system regulation and the relaxation and the meditation, all the stuff that yoga therapy can help with. I really can't help you if your hormones are so upside down that despite all the tricks I have to get you back to sleep at 3 a.m., they're not going to work because your progesterone has tanked.
Hmm.
So I think I really need somebody like you, Jenny, in your clinic to get the women to the place where they can start to talk about changing their lives and following their dreams and putting on that really wonderful pair of running shoes and running that marathon. But they need to get their hormones back. So we're talking about progesterone.
Hmm.
Can you give me a little feel about what progesterone does for our body and why we might need it?
So I'll zoom out a bit and say
Mhm.
that hormones are a really broad term, and there's many types made by different parts of the body. When we think about menopause and perimenopause, we're specifically referring to the ones that are made in the ovaries. So those are estradiol, testosterone, and progesterone. So we'll kind of park that here. They've done studies where they look at hormones or progesterone, estrogen, and they kind of lump all the terms together. And some of those, especially the ones that are the synthetic version, so like the stuff you might find in a birth control pill, or the stuff that you can find in hormone therapy, but it's not quite the way your body makes it. We call those synthetics. And that is where the risks and the scares come from. Even then, it was blown out of proportion, like really, truly. It was not nearly as bad as it was made out to be. But why use these when we have the ability to get the equivalent of what your ovaries used to make? So I can give you progesterone, estradiol, testosterone, and your body just knows what to do with it. And it works really well. But because of the naming and the confusion and then previous studies, women are afraid. But progesterone has incredible effects on the central nervous system. It has been studied for uterine cancer prevention, ovarian, breast. It can actually be used in breast cancer treatment. It can really help people with their mood, feelings of anxiety. I've been able to take women off Ativan, which is a pretty heavy duty, like, we'll say like a pill you might take when you're having a panic attack or a lot of anxiety. We're able to get people off sleeping pills because turns out what they needed was progesterone. So you get a good amount of progesterone in them and they sleep better, the night sweats go away, their mood improves, they're not having heart palpitations, they're not having panic attacks, they're not like their mind's not ruminating like it used to. And then we see decreased breast cancer, ovarian, uterine cancer, less inflammation. And yeah, and it works so well. And then I'll say, because I also get women that are put on progesterone and estradiol through their family doctor, maybe a clinic online, and their doses are so sub-therapeutic. So they're like literally like the tip of the iceberg. And because the practitioner doesn't know how to like ask the right questions, how to get the levels up, what are we trying to accomplish, take that in the context of symptoms. So I have women that believe like, oh, hormones didn't work for me, but it was a dosing issue. It wasn't a hormone issue. And every woman is different. Like some women get incredible results off like the tiniest little doses, and other ones need a lot. And you don't really know until you try them, how
Right.
much you're going to need.
Now, estradiol is another hormone that you mentioned. Is that's different than estrogen, right?
It's a type of estrogen. So I
Mhm.
think of estrogen as an umbrella term, and I say it's like vacations. Like there's so many kinds. You go to Europe and on a road trip, or you can go to Disney or on a cruise. That is estrogen, the word estrogen. So then we zoom in and we find something called estradiol, which yes, it's a form of estrogen, but it's actually a form that is the same as your ovaries used to make, and that is what we give in at our clinic is the stuff that your body just knows what to do with, knows what to make sense of.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And estradiol is what helps the hot flashes.
Estradiol helps the hot flashes, as does progesterone, and estradiol is incredible at helping keep your bone density strong.
Bone
So
density, big, big concern.
huge. So women think that with, menopause, they're sort of just waiting for the hot flashes to end and then I'm done. But when the hormones are truly gone, first of all, the symptoms don't always go away. But even if they do, that's actually the time to intervene because that is when bone starts to break down real fast and your brain starts to change, your skin starts to change that much quicker because now that the ovaries are shut down, there's no more hormones left. So if women knew, oh, by the way, if you take estradiol at menopause, you are much less likely to break a hip. Why wouldn't you want that? Or much less likely to have a heart attack or a stroke or develop dementia
Hmm.
or, a life-threatening urinary tract infection, which we see in older women. I think they
All
would
the
be a lot
time.
more open. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, and then you mentioned testosterone as well, which we think about when we talk about dudes and muscle
Yeah.
and growing hair.
Oh, so I always say hormones are for humans, not for genders. So we
Mhm.
all make all of them in different amounts. And then for women, they're more cyclical if they're still having periods. But testosterone is incredible for women and men. It's a what I think of like as a builder of sorts. So it does a fantastic job of improving pelvic floor because that's a group of muscles. It improves your vaginal tissue, your bladder, what we call the urethra. That's how we can avoid some of the urinary tract infections. It does a great job of helping you maintain your muscle mass because you can work out and eat protein and take your creatine, whatever. But if your testosterone is in your boots, it's so much more work than if you just had the thing that used to feed it, when things used to work. Testosterone is great for energy, for mood, for libido, both physically, because it brings blood flow to the vaginal tissues, the clitoris, but it's also good mentally for libido. It's really good for vaginal lubrication. A lot of women are told to just relax or to just have more wine, or most of them actually just stop having sex altogether because it is so painful.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
you
I know
have to
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, they say, I tear. Jenny, it
Yeah.
feels like tearing.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
it's
It
it,
shocked me when it hit for
yeah,
me. It shocked me. I thought it wouldn't happen like that for me. Yeah.
well, the thing that used to keep the cells nice and plump and moisturized is gone. So it's not, let's throw some lubricant at it. It's not lubricant that it needs, it's the hormones that build up the tissues. I
Yeah.
had a woman tell me, because what happens is your anatomy starts to change, and we call that genitourinary syndrome of menopause. It's a mouthful, but GUSM for short. And the anatomy truly changes, and like the lips of the vagina kind of shrink back, and hormones plump them back out again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no amount of lube is going to help. I mean, lube is still important,
Yes,
because
yes.
you're not going to be 22 again. But yeah, you really do have to address the fundamental hormonal issues. And then once those fundamental hormonal issues are settled out a little bit, then I could come in and help you with,
Yeah.
with bringing your life back together, because that's kind of where I work. Jenny, if someone wants to contact you or work with your clinic, how do they find you?
So they can self-refer because we're a private clinic. We have a website, fonthealth.ca, where they can leave their info and we reach out. They can book something called a discovery call where they can kind of go explain their story and one of the nurses can talk to them and see if we can help them. Generally, we can. And then we do things in a program. So we used to do one-off visits. I would see some people every 3 to 6 months, and that's because I was trained under family medicine where you just see people every few months, then you refill their scripts and they come back again. But with this kind of care, it's so nuanced. Every day we're fighting against the misinformation that people read online and social media and like trying to correct, but remember we talked about this. This is what it means for you. This is your labs. Like, oh, okay, okay. I remember now. That stuff takes time and it
Yeah.
takes like continuous education as we make sense of it all together. Doses are so different. So long story short, we do programs. So people come through a program. Generally, it's about 16 weeks because that's about as long as it takes me to kind of like really get things going. And then they can choose to stay on maintenance or they can take their kind of protocol to their family doctor to continue. More often than not, people just stay with us because their family doctor doesn't really know what to do with it, unfortunately. But people do really well. We see a lot of body fat reduction, visceral fat, which is a type in your organs. We see significant improvement in joint pain. We reverse diabetes like literally every week. Hormones are that powerful. We see people come off their medications by the rheumatologist or antidepressants, their sleeping pills. They just feel so much better. And I always say, I'm glad and I'm happy because I'm also thinking about the future you. It's not just let's get the night sweats and the hot flashes going. It's like, let's keep your bone density strong. Let's keep your blood sugars in control. Let's keep your brain healthy. Let's keep your tissues, moisturized and plump so we can avoid all the things that I would have previous Jen would have seen you at the hospital for as an admission.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Jenny, you do important work. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today. I really appreciate it. I will put your contact information in the show notes. And thank you again.
Thank you. Thank
Namaste.
you so much, Sarah. Okay.